Okay, last time we created shear walls and labeled their hold downs and identified them using hatches like this. Um, and so structural walls may be combination of other walls. So we know that the architect has called for a um, CMU wall here. And so we can do it that way. Now, if we refer back to our elevation, so let's try to find our elevation here. Um, here you go. The elevation of the CMU walls shows that it extends on this side, on the front side, on the left elevation, but it doesn't extend on this side. Okay. So depending on how the architect calls it out, because there is a balcony here, that balcony has to be protected and has to be has to have a wall to protect that from another property. So uh, if we look at the floor plan, the engineer might question that it's not on the floor plan. When in such case, the engineer has to make sure that he catches also those little things. And if it doesn't, eventually the architect and engineer will find them. Okay. Let's just move this out of the place here. Whoop. There you go. So happens that there you go. That okay. And so we're going to do the same thing as we did for the shear walls. We're going to the model space and we will create a new layer. And we're going to create a new layer called this. And then we're going to put in CMU. Okay. Uh, we're going to still leave it as a green line. And we're going to use that as our new wall. And know that the property has to extend, or the walls has to extend by this much here. Okay, so um, this is the first floor. So we're going to do another. We can do a rectangle starting from that corner all the way to this corner here. Okay, and we need to hatch that, and so we're going to do a hatch. I'm going to do a BH command. I'm going to do user defined 3-inch, but this time I don't want it to be going both ways. User defined high transparency angle. I'm trying to find where the double. There you go. I don't want it. I don't want it double. So make sure that it's not selected. And then I will select the objects and click on this fall, and there you go. Now, sometimes you don't want it. Well, sometimes the engineer will decide that he doesn't want these kinds of CMO angles. Let's just change that. It all totally depends. So we're gonna just do a 0 here and press enter, and that's how I go. Now let's say adjust also to 4 inches. Okay, and then close. And then select that and change the color to not a bilayer but red. So now you can see on your layout, S1 layout, that it looks different now than our shear walls because this type of wall is a CMU wall. Okay, um, and let's do this elevator also. This elevator have a CMU walls also. So going back to the model space, we're going to simply do a rectangle again, and we're doing it section by section because we want our hatch to be rotated perpendicular to the wall. So in this case, we're going to now put here 90, press enter, press close, and then again, select this, change the color to a specific one, the thinnest one, red. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. There is a CMU wall here. This portion is not. We're going to leave it blank. And we're going to do a BH again. And we're going to click this, press enter. Now that we have something to copy from, we can simply click match property and select this and that one. Okay. Then these two also, we're going to do a rectangle. Okay. And then we're going to do that. And we are going to, again, do a BH. There you go. And then select this and that. And then press close. And then we're going to match property this one to this one. There you go. Okay. We're going to address the opening later, but that certainly has to be addressed structurally. And I think that's the extent of our CMU walls on the first floor. And we're going to do the same thing on the second floor. So we're going to simply just copy, copy, we'll copy this, we'll copy this, this, and that one, and this whole long wall section. And we are going to copy from, let's just do the edge of our corner of our wall here, our property, and then we're simply going to just do a perpendicular to a grid line. Okay, and they should all line up. Oh, we miss doing this, copying this wall here. We miss copying this, and that's all. That's always important to line up your grids. Okay, so that this grid over here is perfectly lined up with this grid over here. Okay, so make sure that they're all lined up. Otherwise, you won't take advantage of copying perpendicular, horizontally, and all that other stuff. Okay. All right. So again, CMU walls. That's how it's done. And then let's go ahead now to layout and make sure that anybody who is working on this construction on this building knows that this is a CMU wall. So we're going to simply let's do a copy of this one, and we're going to copy from here to here. And we're going to label and change this to typical. Remember that we always use all capitals. So typical 6-inch CMU wall. Okay, and click outside. Okay, so that means that every time anybody sees this kind of hatch, that will be your typical 6-inch CMU wall, and then that 6-inch CMU wall will have been specified somewhere on the general notes of what type of 6-inch CMU wall are you going to use. Okay. All right. So we also have other walls to consider. Let's do the same thing here. Because other than a 6-inch CMU wall, we also have some wood walls. Again, we're going to move this out of the way and move that to this side. Okay. And let's go back to the model space, and you can see here that most of this, there is a typical, there's a section here that's made of wood. These are windows, but there's a section here that is not a CMU wall or nor a shear wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to again create a new layer for that kind of wall. We're going to do a new layer. We'll call it S. We're going to just call it S and wall. What's W? Okay, leave it green. Close it and then use that. And then let's go ahead and label. Let's start here. I'm going to do a rectangle, and we'll start from here to there, and then we're going to do another BH here. The shear wall here is this is a traditional shear wall, and this here is a strong wall for Simpson. I forgot about that one. So now let's do this wall. So to do that wall, we are going to again do a hatch, and we're going to create a user-defined hatch that is not doubled again, but this time we are going to space this 6 inches. Okay, and then we're going to select the object, and then press. We didn't accept that one. Not accept that. Change that to red. It's 90 degrees, so we want that to be 45. There you go. So now there's a clear distinction that this traditional shear wall that has a more dense hatch is different from this typical wall, which has a less dense hatch. So let's just click OK. Okay, and the problem sometimes with those is that it doesn't appear or can't use that here, but let's try it first. So we are using an ordinary wall. We're going to hatch it. Let's do the same thing here. Well, that's really nothing. So it's like this. See, if you look at this, it doesn't really show here, and so good thing is just typical anyway. And then we have a little bit of section here, so we're gonna do the same thing. And here too. We're gonna do a BH and click on close. Okay, and we now have those. We also have these inside walls here that we have to address. So we're going to do a rectangle. There's this one to here, and there's this one to here. We're going to stop here because there's a column there. And then we're going to do this one to here. And we're going to do this one to here. And then we're going to do this one to here. Okay, so let's put a hatch first on all of those. So we will select multiple. And then close. There you go. And then this one here too, and all of this interior walls we're going to. So we are hatching them because they're going to be our typical walls. And if, for example, your typical walls are uses a different stud, then we have to change that to a different hatch. Okay, I forgot to hatch this small piece here. Yeah, let's just use the same studs here. PH. And here's another one. Interior walls. Now you don't need to do rectangles. You can create a you can create a P line so they're all connected. So PL, and just trace over that. And then same thing here. We'll do a P line. Oh, I didn't do the corner. So when you are drafting, you will get lost in time because when you're drafting, you're not really talking to anybody. You're just drawing. Okay. All right. So those are the floors on the second floor, first floor, and we'll do the same for the second floor. So here we have then we didn't put any windows on this wall. So here's something that the architect would see that needs to be adjusted. The windows, okay, because the engineer has to block that off. Okay, so let's do a hatch. We're gonna select this and this and this. Okay, and then let's move on to this side. So I just use rectangles, but like I said, you can always use a P line. Some engineers would not address the interior walls because they are not structural. And they're just basically divisions, and this the architect um, wants to divide this area, so he's putting in a wall. And if it's not, if it's not load bearing, it doesn't carry any weight. It's not part of the structural system. Then sometimes some engineers would not address that at all, and depends on the engineer how he needs to do his work. Okay, and then we have this other thing here, and we can just copy what we have over here. Make sure you copy the hatch too, and we'll copy it from this corner and go and copy it to, where did I do that? This corner? Nope, this corner. There you go. All right, so we're done. And then you go back to your X layout. Let's try to save first so we don't lose any work. And then you can see here, there's no wall here because there's a door. I mean, there's a window. There's no wall here because there's a door. No wall here. There's a window. And here there are no windows to these walls. And then you would do the same thing as you label the CMU wall. You would basically copy that. My shortcuts, I don't like this. My shortcuts are different in this computer. I'm gonna do it nearest, so I want to put it there. And you put here your exterior, typical exterior, typical exterior wall. Okay, so anytime you see this kind of hatch, which is totally different than this one, okay, because that's more dense, then that that would need to be called out somewhere. We'll do the same thing and copy from here to somewhere here. And we don't want to, we want to avoid overlapping it with this dimension here. So we're gonna just push it, and then we want to line this up, pull this up. I mean, and that's gonna be your typical exterior wall, and that will need to be labeled and called out somewhere. Okay, so yeah, so that's how you do your hatching for different kinds of wall, and then we can call them out later. Uh, so here's structural notes. You'd probably, well, let's just do this. We don't need structural on the site plan, so we're gonna actually just delete this whole thing here. I was planning on deleting that later. Let's turn on the viewport and remove this viewport. So I'm going to erase this and turn off the viewport again. And then I'm going to copy this whole thing. Okay, I'm going to turn on my ortho, and I'm going to put in general notes. Okay, and let's put in number 1, CMU wall, typical 6-inch CMU wall. Do we specify 6-inch? Let me see again. Forgot. Yeah. Shall be, and then that's a long time ago. What did we use for our fire rated 6-inch CMU? That's a particular brand that we selected. I think it's Westbrook. Mm, there you go. Yeah, this is Westbrook, and this is a U906 2-hour. So U906. Here you go. Yeah. So Westbrook. Okay. So we're going to specify that Westbrook concrete block U906 2-hour. So we're going to go back to AutoCAD, and we are going to label this Westbrook 6 to be U906. And then if this was a government project, then you have to put in or equal. Okay. In private projects, you don't need to, but in government projects, typically we put in or equal so that you are opening it up for bids. Okay. For number 2, we have our typical wall. Shall be our typical exterior wall. A lot of architects and engineers would use a abbreviated call out system. So typical exterior wall shall be 2 by frame or 2 by 6 studs at 16 inches on center. And then you're going to put a parentheses and say C architectural. Oh, this is a structural with a 3/4 inch plywood, just like we had here at the beginning, but this one says structural grade plywood, so that's different. Okay, so this one here is just normal plywood, um, and this one's a little stronger, so they're a little different, two things. So okay, that, and then we're done with our typical CMU and typical exterior wall. If you have differentiated the interior walls, you have to also do the same thing here. Okay, and then next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some callouts for our different wall sections, because some sections look different than other sections. Okay, so do that.